Like you, brand clarity expert, international speaker, trainer, and author, Suzanne Tullian is a lifelong learner and appreciates the knowledge other speakers have to offer on their platforms. And I bet you're wondering, what's the secret sauce that turns a speaker from meh to oh wow? Is it the charisma, the wit, or maybe just an exceptionally good hair day? With over 3 decades of strategic communication, marketing, business, and personal brand development, Suzanne's focus on enlisting, equipping, and engaging her audiences lead to high impact and aligned goals. A certified trainer and certified in accelerated adult learning, Suzanne is like the Yoda of speaking. She doesn't just teach, she Jedi mind tricks her way into leaving audiences hooked, and not just because she's also a fly fisherwoman. And let's talk about her literary prowess. An author of The 6 Myths of Small Business Branding and co-conspirator in Brand DNA, Suzanne's latest book, birthed during the COVID era, is Personal Brand Clarity, a GPS for finding and leveraging your authentic self in the world of overstimulation. Because who wants to operate from default settings when you can proactively co-create your success consciously, strategically, and deliberately? So get conscious and be inspired to grow. Today's session is all about you, and she encourages your note-taking and questions throughout the session. Let's welcome Suzanne Tullian.
Hey, good to be here, guys. I hope this is relevant for all of you. Sam and I were talking a little bit about what you were looking for, and this is a powerful presentation for those of you that are thinking about speaking, emerging speakers, and definitely the seasoned speaker. If you're kind of utilizing your subject matter area of expertise to build business and to bring in new customers, these are some techniques that are really great to know. And if you're not necessarily one of those people that are on stages on a regular basis or get out there to the community to deliver your area of expertise, I want you to still consider these techniques and how you deliver just information. Let's just say in front of your clients, if it's a small client group, or if you're presenting on something specific in your subject area, just consider how you can apply and assimilate some of these, because a lot of times if you're not out there, getting gigs and getting on stages and getting in front of people, you may think this is not for you, but it's really all about how to transfer information and be aware, being more conscious, strategic, and deliberate in how you deliver on what you're trying to talk to. So let's get started. I always like to kick it off with a few questions. So who here has expertise that can positively impact your customers and even potential customers? Type in chat the words "I do" if you do. And I don't have chat up, and I'm not sure how I can see it. Oh, now I can see it. It just popped up with people answering. Okay, great. Thank you for that. So who understands the value of presenting 50 or more at one time versus one, and what it could do for the growth of your business? Again, say "I do" if you do. If you know that and understand that and you're thinking about that, then you're in the right place, because I think we're going to have some really interesting things that, even though this is only an hour long, we're going to uncover several different key techniques that you're going to really, I think, make you think. So thanks for investing your time and attention and learning, for evolving and becoming better and better at what you love to do and present and share. So there is a handout also that you should have received. So hopefully you've printed it out, and I'd like for you to follow along and fill it out so that you get the most out of this training. Okay. I have a super packed program today, and I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions and to be fully present and using the chat function. So I know that you guys are out there, and I'm not just talking to a bunch of, virtual people out there. So if you have a question during this webinar, this particular webinar, type it in chat by starting with a capital Q and a colon prior to the question, and that will make it easier for us to go back when I've got time at the end to kind of sift through and answer some questions, and get those, all your questions answered. So this will just be, a few minutes that I'll have at the very end, and hopefully you'll enjoy what you're learning. So we're going to get started. All right. So who are my current speakers? Are some of you in maybe leadership out there speaking and presenting? If you are, type "I am" in chat. We got a couple of thumbs up go through. So who are my soon-to-be speakers? Anybody aspiring to speak? Great. Type the word chat or the word soon in chat. So my question to you then, the rest of you, what's keeping the rest of you from sharing your expertise? I'm sure you all know that public speaking is one of the greatest of all human fears. But did you know that fear can result in 10% or more impairment of your earning potential, 15% impairment on chances of promotion or building your client base? Here's the definition that I really want you to understand. A persistent fear of one or more social or performance situations in which a person will act in a way that will be embarrassing or humiliating. Anyone on this webinar fit that definition at least once, right? Who knows what is the actual scientific word that this definition is actually speaking to? Does anybody know what that word is? If you know it, type it in chat. You can't look it up real quick. You can't look it up. Stage fright, very agoraphobia, close. It's really interesting. It's called glossophobia. So this webinar will help reduce that fear and empower you to deliver your expertise and impact even more people. Isn't that what you're here to do? Yes or yes? Type yes in chat for me. Excellent. So becoming known as an expert in your field through speaking opportunities is really a powerful way to build your organization's brand and build credibility within your own position as well. But if you're not a speaker yet, then I encourage you to take this information for your own development and really consider as you grow and evolve into your industry to get out there and start speaking about it. So now I want you to tell me what your area of expertise is for your presentations. Just type it in chat. Like, what is the area in your industry that you feel that you're an expert on? Anybody have some expertise that you can just fluently integrate? I'm seeing this, yes. Wow, integration, lots of integration experts. So for example, my expertise is all about all things branding, helping businesses, subject matter experts, speakers, sales agents, and coaches identify, define, and align to what they want to become known for. So the expertise you identified is the general area you want to become known for in your industry. So every subject matter you present on should be niched in that area, exemplifying and perpetuating your unique area of expertise. This is how you become known for your speaker brand, right? You've got to really dig down into all the different elements within that area of expertise. Could be unique topic points, and that would go on your speaker sheet. We're going to talk a little bit about speaker sheets in a moment. So for those of you who have presented or who have a presentation even coming up, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is your presentation will or has left an impression. So what's the bad news? Your presentation will or has left an impression. So sometimes that can be bad news, right? If you're not prepared, if you didn't get the point across, if you didn't enlist, equip, and engage your audience. So the impression you leave is the perception of your delivery, and your delivery becomes known as your personal brand presence, which is the overall accumulation of impressions that you create in the minds of your audiences. So we're going to unpack that in the next few slides. So do you want to leave a specific impression from your presentations? Raise your hands if you believe that you have to have a certain level of control in order to do that. Of course you do, right? Have you ever written down the perceptions you want your audiences to have of your own presentation? So when you realize that you are the brand of your delivery, then you must get more conscious of your personal speaker brand management. So how many of you have spent time and money as a participant in a presentation and walked out of that room feeling unsure of what you just learned, right? The speaker may have been the most renowned expert in their industry, but unable to really deliver that information in a way that enlists, equips, and engages her audiences, right? It was after just several of these experiences that I decided to utilize my own training skills to develop a workshop for serious speakers to learn the skills to enlist, equip, and engage their audiences to want more. This is just one short hour of a 4-hour live intensive workshop that I put on. So we just got some of the best pieces here. So it's time to become your own speaker brand manager. So I've got 50 minutes, about 25 more slides, and 4 techniques taken from my live 4-hour workshop to share with you in this webinar. So let's get those notes going. So here's an interesting question for you. When you think of presenting, do you think of yourself as a speaker or a trainer? Speaker or trainer? Write that in chat. I mean, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Yes, speaker, both. Okay, great. So as a certified trainer, I help you become a better speaker through the mindset of a trainer. So what does that mean? It means you shift from believing that you are just delivering your expertise in a one-way model like this to a model where you're focused completely on the transferring of knowledge into the hearts and minds of your audiences through perpetuating a two-way engagement with them, where the real absorption and transference of knowledge actually begins. This is what I have coined as becoming a trainer-minded speaker. So trainer-minded speakers are equipped to ensure the information you deliver gets transferred into the hearts and minds of your audiences. And as a certified trainer, I guarantee even just a few of these techniques we have here today will help you combine the best in both of these delivery modalities to become a powerful and memorable and impactful trainer-minded speaker. So who's here to hear more? You ready to hear more? Type yes in chat and let me know. All right, let's go. So those of you who have presented before, you probably have had the experience when you felt that you really connected with your audiences, right? That feeling is euphoric to speakers, right? It's what keeps us doing what we do over and over and over again. So I want to share with you the single most important goal that you should have well before you even take the stage or the front of the room, right? And this is to be a co-creator of a synergistic connection between you, the speaker, plus your content, plus your audience, plus the context that enlists, equips, and engages all into ultimate alignment. So what is this called? What is this defining? There's a word out there I want to share with you. Can anyone guess what this word is? If you can, list it in chat. It's a term that we don't often use, but I really want you to realize that this is the #1 goal as a trainer-minded speaker. Synergy is close, very close. Okay, I'm going to reveal it. It's called coherence. So when we are in coherence with others, we are in sync, connecting and bonding, and science even shows that our heart sustains a rhythm that communicates trust and signals our brains that it's safe to be open to influence. So if you begin to have the power of coherence in your delivery, you are opening the hearts and minds and ears of the people listening to you, right? And they're open to influence. So our brains are designed for coherence. We listen better and we speak better when we are in that state of trust, safety, and coherence with others, and are actually helping us interpret what is going on. So we're going into this much deeper in my Be a Better Speaker workshop and speaker coaching programs, but I wanted to kind of like give you this 30,000-foot view of what we're really looking for in your hearts and minds as a speaker and trainer and presenter of this #1 goal as coherence. It's important for you to realize that better speakers are gestalt-minded. They see the whole experience as important and part of the process delivering their expertise, meaning they don't just come in for that 20-minute or 1 hour or even a half-day presentation and leave. They consider all aspects of the content and context of the environment. And you should too if you want to elevate your performance and outcomes. So I teach my students to become highly conscious, strategic, and deliberate in their delivery before, during, and after their delivery. So with this limited time that we have today, I'm going to share with you a technique in each of these segments that will help you have more control of the outcomes of your delivery. These might seem really subtle at first, but trust that these are often overlooked and therefore a result of missed opportunities to generate very powerful perceptions that set the stage for optimum results. So there are many more to learn, but we only have time for these today, so let's get going. We'll start with some key pieces that you need to manage and prepare for before you even step on the stage or even in front of the room. Number one should be addressed well before you even secure the presentation gig. So raise your hand if you believe first impressions are an important part of developing a relationship with your speaker coordinator, right? Absolutely. So ask yourself, are you conscious, strategic, and deliberate in how you are consistently showing up to your markets, to your audiences? Think about that. So before you even get the gig, you have to look the part, right? You have to showcase your professionalism, expertise, and speaker brand because you have competition out there. And anyone booking you to present are concerned about one thing. What do you think that one thing is that they're concerned about before they book you? What do you think? Go ahead and type in chat. What are they worried about? Their audiences, right? And ensuring that they're glad those audience members are glad that they have attended that event, and that the coordinators are glad that they've fulfilled a promise. So your initial exposure to them should be your first concern, right? With a professionally designed speaker, what I call a speaker wow sheet, a speaker sheet, think about how yours would actually stand out over just a plain Word doc resume, a bio, or a single photo with a topic sheet. You know, this is your opportunity to showcase your speaker brand style, right? List your signature topics and get the attention and command the respect you deserve for your subject matter expertise. If you don't have a professionally designed speaker sheet and are serious, you're really wanting to get out there, then this collateral piece is a must. It instantly separates you from your competition, and it sets your bio and information on top of the list. Okay. So now let's move on to the second key technique before you actually present. Let me ask you this. How many of you have been to a seminar or workshop and have been crammed into uncomfortable seats, elbow to elbow? The room is too warm or too cold. The sun is silhouetting the speaker. You can't even see their face because they're standing in front of a big window, or you can't hear the speaker, or your visuals are blocked. We've all experienced something like that. So answer this question. How much learning or listening did you experience, right? So number two is actually taking control of the room. What does this mean? That it means that context is more important than content, believe it or not. So what do you think context includes when you think about context? I just gave you a quick example. What is the context versus your content? Place, time, audience, yes. There you go. Yes. It is the room, believe it or not, the smell of the room, the lighting, the audio, the temperature, location of speaker, the size of your visuals, energy, engagement, the food, is there food around? Handouts, how well are they designed? And then the content, right? It seems simple, but yet it's so powerful. And so many speakers don't take control of the room and instead suffer silently with the audience in an uncomfortable environment. Well, the problem with that is that you're keeping your audience from actually learning. So here's what I mean. Context is more important than content. So take control to set the stage, so to speak, with an engaging, comfortable, and welcoming environment from the get-go. That means get there early, right, to set up. I recommend that you're submitting, or you recommend as the speaker, a room layout specific to your own delivery intentions, right? Is it a keynote? Do you have experiential activities? Will the audience be sharing anything with each other, right? Think through all of that. Make sure that you're mic'd for audiences above 25 participants. This really enables you to effectively actually command the room, even over side conversations with the audience. It's not that you've got a loud voice and you don't need a microphone. Out of respect to those in the audience who may be hard of hearing, who might have other conversations going on behind them, it's out of respect for the audience for you to be the commanding voice in the room, right? The other thing to do is check the room, the temp, and make it about 70 degrees. Make your handouts, at each seat. Make sure that they're all available. And get some energy in the room. I like to get there an hour early because people kind of will be walking in and sitting down and checking their phone and emails and stuff before the actual event takes place. But make sure you're not having them walk into library quiet, right? Where nobody feels like they can say anything. You want to get the energy up and around in the room. It opens up the ears, it opens up the heart, it opens up the conversations for collaboration. And lay out your handouts and any special items at each seat if you've got that ability to do so, because this creates anticipation and a sense of professionalism. So the last time I spoke, a quick story, at the Women's Chamber Conference, I got there an hour early and worked with the coordinator in setting up tables for the best views, adjusted the room temperature, dropping the blinds behind the stage from the sun, and having them turn on the house music, to create a real energizing vibration as the guests started to arrive and settle in. Just those few adjustments helped to make a more exciting, comfortable, and audience-friendly environment for my experiential presentation. So I'm getting the audience in a collaborative mood. It really, really does make a difference right out of the gate. So give yourself that option, that benefit from the get-go by doing so and setting up the room nice. So who here is uncomfortable boasting about your own credentials in front of a group of people? Raise your hand or give me a thumbs up if that's you. I'm sure many of you have some impressive credentials worthy of knowing. This next before technique will relieve you from having all of that about me slide information in your slide deck and enable you to get right into the meat of your own presentation. So the solution to you having to actually talk about yourself and waste precious presentation time is to let someone else do the boasting, right? But with your prepared script. So one of the first things I learned in becoming a certified trainer and a national speaker was that I had to earn the right at the very beginning. Because earning the right to be on the stage as an expert enables your audiences to open their ears and trust your information right out of the gate. In your handouts, you'll find a quick bonus introduction template that you can actually follow for your own powerful introduction creation. So how many of you have had your name mispronounced or the introduction fumbled by an MC? This type of fumble can really zap your confidence at the very beginning. So it's very important to supply your introduction to the announcer ahead of time and even email it if possible. And bring your own extra copy to the delivery event actually live. You'd be surprised how many actually forget to bring your introduction to the event, and then they just kind of stumble over a really quick invite that gives you no real credibility, right? Politely ask that they take a moment to read it before they introduce you. This helps them get familiar with your content and deliver really a flawless introduction. So you can also create a video introduction, perfect for large stages or keynote style presentation. Mine is actually on YouTube channel called Personal Brand Clarity. If you want to just get an example or to to see what a quick speaker reel might look like, where you've got a narrator introducing you and listing the credentials. Basically, the script of your introduction is read. If you're serious about doing this on a regular basis to build business and to build awareness out there and have you become the subject matter expert, then this is very, very important to consider. That's the channel. So your homework is to begin crafting your introductions so that you can earn the right with confidence and style and be introduced in a way that you want to be acknowledged, right? So this simple exercise will infuse confidence and power into your delivery. And I have an outline that I mentioned earlier in that handout. So just follow through with that and maybe even work with some AI and in your own bio right now to beef it up a little bit. So here are a few tips. Write these tips down in your handout. No more than 250 words to include relevant credentials that will justify you being the expert in the room and the topic. Show phonetic pronunciation of your name if necessary. If you've got a funky name, my last name is always mispronounced. I like to show that phonetic pronunciation so they get it right every time. Add in a few questions that get them thinking specifically about the topic, like how many of you have ever right? And hit the pain points of the audience that the audience might have so they start listening to what you're actually going to be talking about. You also want to add quantifiable credentials like 11 years in the industry, 3 awards, another, author of such and such book, interviewed by so and so, and then inside the intro of the script, simply invite your audience to fully experience your presentation. For example, at the end of my introduction, it reads, "So get conscious and be inspired to grow. Today's session is all about you. Your note-taking and questions throughout the session is encouraged. So let's welcome Suzanne Tulane," right? So I have the introducer, the MC, actually read that out loud. So that's a nice ending there. Also, you can create several of these different introductions, keeping the same base at the end with all your credentials, but change it out and adjust it every time you have a different or a slightly different topic so that your introduction is topic specific. I train on personal brand leadership, personal branding, brand differentiation, brand DNA, speaker brand training. So all of my top section of this introduction is always about the particular topic to get the eyes and ears open of my audience. That's another great tip. So it's imperative that you become more conscious, strategic, and deliberate in understanding who you want to become known for throughout your presentation and align to creating your speaker brand, meaning designing your actions, your behaviors, and your narrative to represent the perceptions you want to be known for, because these perceptions start way before you hit the stage, as we're talking about. All right, so now we're moving swiftly into the during section of your presentation I've got 2 powerful trainer-minded speaker techniques to deliver to you. So the trainer-minded speaker technique number 4 is really a fun one. It's engaging right out of the gate. Since trainer-minded speakers value engagement because it is fundamental to the learner, I always engage my audiences right out of the gate. That means as soon as you get introduced and enter the stage or the platform or wherever you're delivering from, the first words out of your mouth are not "thank you, it's great to be here," but rather a set of affirmative questions that primes your audiences for the topic that they're here to actually learn more about, right? And it gives them a quick action to create a positive state change to open their ears to your information. It also gets their attention off of you and into their own brains to answer, right? They're already strategically going backwards into their brains, and it affirms why they're here and revs up excitement to hear what you're about to deliver. So I'm going to walk you through this really quick formula to understand this better. If you remember, I asked you 2 questions at the beginning of this training, and then I asked for an affirming action at the end of that to respond in chat or put your thumbs up, give me some sort of understanding visually that I could see that you're understanding this. You can do this technique. Obviously, you can see both live and in virtual presentations. So the key to this technique lies in the relevancy of the questions to the topic that you're delivering, and that they are written to get a yes from at least 90% of the audience. So knowing your audience makeup is key, and that they are aware of the topic that you're presenting on. Then the third component of this technique is to close with the 2 questions with an affirming action that confirms your audience participants are in the right place. So make sure that this is appropriate for the topic energy, right? Well, for example, one of my speaker students decided her affirming action was going to be, everybody take a deep breath in and say, I'm in the right place, and on your exhale. And because she was a master yoga instructor speaking at an audience. So that was very creative of her and very interesting. And they felt that she was very relevant to why they were there. So you'll see how this simple technique immediately raises your vibration in the room and really gets them excited to hear what you have to say. It also starts to train them to feel comfortable to actually respond to you. So you're having more of a conversation. Like, remember that 2-way trainer-minded speaker graphic versus behind the podium and have all your delivery one way? You want to get that enlist, equip, and engage sequence going right out of the gate by asking questions. Okay, so moving right along. How many of you want your listeners to actually learn something from your delivery, right? Type yes in chat and thumbs up for me. Thank you. Appreciate that participation. Who here wants your audiences to take real action on what you've just told them, what you've just trained on them? Yes. So I just used 2 questions to set the stage for this slide's learning point. This is a great psychological technique to help your audiences move their thinking into the receptive mode on the next new concept. It acts like a psychological state change to help them shift gears. So number 5 is this trainer-minded speaker technique. I want you to kick off each slide or concept with a few questions that prime the brains of your audience to get on the same page. So this technique reinforces that coherence we were talking about, which is your number 1 goal as a trainer-minded speaker. So regularly asking questions about the topic, the situation, or key learning point to your audience during your presentation is one of the best ways to enlist and engage them into your material. But there is a right and a wrong way to do this, right? So how many of you have ever experienced speakers who ask questions, but what do they do after they ask the question? Anyone guess? What do they do after they ask the question? They keep talking. Yes. They give the answer themselves. They cannot stand the silence. So they steal the opportunity of coherence from happening. They do this because the silence in the audience is so uncomfortable. But I challenge you to be brave and wait. Keep edging them on to provide an answer. They will. And then you've successfully broken the ice for more engagement and coherence. Congratulations. This is one of the hardest things to do, but hold out. I guarantee you someone will answer because they can't stand the silence either in the audience. All right, so here's a bonus tip in your understanding the power of asking a lot of questions. You see, trainer-minded speakers never do for learners what the learners can do for themselves. You have to get them to actively process your information by thinking and answering questions. It begins the important process of that enlisting, equipping, and engaging your audience to be more present and contributing to their own learning. This is a fundamental technique in adult learning methodology, and how information actually gets transferred effectively. It will shift your audience's ability to respond to your delivery in very, very powerful ways. So let's learn a little bit more about that. How many of you learn better by doing? Do you know that about yourself? You learn better by actually doing something. Yes. Who here knows if you're a visual learner? Answer in chat if you're a visual learner. A lot of us are. That's like 70% of us. Your audiences are full of a variety of learning styles. So how do you deliver your information in ways that appeal to all learners? Trainer-minded speakers know how to vary their deliveries to appeal to all 4 types of learners. 1 is auditory, right? 2 is kinesthetic. 3 is visual. And the last one is intellectual. So auditory, your voice inflection, your pace, your tone, and additional video components that have audio all add to that level of learning. The kinesthetic is all about getting your tools and handouts out there to them to engage them. Have the people that are very kinesthetic like to draw pictures. They write in the margins. They fill out all the fill-in blanks on the handouts. The visual, use slides with a combo of graphics and light text, flip charts and handouts. And if you use slides, use animation. That's another bonus tip because I didn't have enough time to include that in here, but you have to learn how to control the learning as well, the speed of learning, right? And then finally, intellectual, ask lots of questions. You're forcing them to process, show numbers for these intellectuals. They like stats and data. Then that helps them start believing and buying into your material because they're intellectual learners. So for those of you who have presented before, your homework then after this is to reassess your current signature presentation and ensure that you can infuse these learning enhancers into your delivery, right? It will collectively create a much more powerful transfer of information for all involved. I guarantee you, you will feel a difference in your audience's response to what they've just learned from you. And when your audiences are more actively engaged, coherence is leveraged, and your audiences are more positive, they learn more, and they take action on what they learn, right? Now ask yourself, isn't that the reason you're out there sharing your information as a speaker, right? So why not be more conscious, strategic, and deliberate in delivering your information? And finally, I have time for one more trainer-minded speaker technique to focus on when your presentation is over. So how many of you are curious to know how the audience experienced your presentation? You wonder, I wonder if they really got this, right? So number 7 is all about affirming what your audience has learned. This is a simple but powerful technique that will help you ensure you delivered information that was effectively transferred. It also helps the collective audience realize what they've learned and affirm the values of your presentation. So it reaffirms your expertise and their own desire, right, to take action. This technique also helps rally audience members to check out and buy what you might be selling in the back of the room. So how is this done? You simply say something like, so I gave you a lot of information to take in today. What was your favorite piece of this presentation? Raise your hand, right? You just ask the question and you wait and you find people raising their hands and answering the question very quickly. You ask, how will you use this information? Who's going to use something they just learned today and what would that be, right? And you also reach out and say, what will you take action on right now, right? Who had an aha moment to share? So ask these sorts of questions at the very end. You're getting this collective affirmation out loud. So everyone in the audience who hears other people enjoying, taking in, and finding value in your talk, they're also going to feel the same way. So ask however many questions you have time for to get affirmation from this audience's experience of your delivery and what they learned. Again, it's very subtle technique that produces very powerful results and gives you feedback. So to recap today's learning session, I want you to remember that trainer-minded speakers are more conscious, strategic, and deliberate in their delivery, with the goal of creating coherence before, during, and after their presentation. Right? Congratulations, you've learned techniques that many speakers are oblivious to. and they take for granted or completely overlook and miss the opportunity to tap into the power of enlisting, equipping, and engaging your audiences to want more of what you are offering. These very small but mighty techniques will alter how your audiences receive your information. So take these and incorporate them into your next delivery and watch what happens. I'd love to hear from you. And finally, I want you to stop for a moment and think, who will you become as a result of learning and using just a few of these techniques to enriching the delivery of your content? Will you be the next trainer-minded speaker delivering amazing content in a way that enlists, equips, and engages your audiences? I know for sure that you will. And finally, I want to stop for a moment and to think about, sorry about that, about what your favorite technique has been. So we talked about before, these 3 techniques, during, engaging right out of the gate, kicking off each slide with questions, present to all learner types, or after, affirming what they've learned. Type yours in chat. I'd love to hear. Number 4, engage right out of the gate. Yeah, that's a good one. You got to practice that though too. It's kind of difficult. And number 5, starting with questions. Okay, yes. 7, yes. That final feedback is really great. All of these are fairly simple, but extremely powerful in getting you more conscious, strategic, and deliberate in creating coherence within your presentation to enlist, equip, and engage your audiences to want more and take action. So these techniques are just a small selection from that 4-hour workshop, and I'm really appreciative that you were interested enough to sit in on this hour and at least glean these few powerful techniques. I want to give you access to a freebie that I have. It's called the 7 Secrets to Become a Highly Rated Speaker. These are powerful but yet rarely utilized secrets to get you more conscious of creating more coherence within your audience. You can click on this QR code to get the freebie right now. The link is also, I believe, in your handout, so feel free to do that from there. And I'd love to answer any of your questions that you guys might have. I'm happy to. I don't know how much time we actually have left.
Let me look. I think we've got 15 minutes or so to chat through. So one of the things I've found that I always tend to do, especially when I'm presenting to really large audiences, is oftentimes no one wants to be the first person to ask a question from the audience. Mm-hmm. So I always ask a friendly before I go on stage, hey, I want you to ask this question very first. So at least that way they kind of break the ice. Mm-hmm. And other people are like, oh, if someone already asked a question, I'm not going to be the first one to ask a question. So that's my little trick of the trade, is to get people to actually ask questions, is you plant one.
Yeah, I've done that before, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, but when you open with a few of those questions and you get people used to raising their hands and used to turning and high-fiving, really shifts the energy from being that quiet, library, stale environment and nobody wants to voice anything first, right? So, but that is a great technique. I've done that many times. It's
like in professional environments at a conference or something where you're sitting next to a stranger, oftentimes no one wants to ask a question. Be like, I don't want to seem like an idiot. I don't want to be the first one.
Right. Yes. Anything else? Sometimes we feel like we are losing the audience. See that? Do you have any tips to bring them back? That is really good insight, and it takes a really a very observant, emotionally intelligent trainer and speaker to notice that in their audiences. So you can do simple tricks like, man, I know it's hot in here. Anybody else hot? And just kind of get their attention back up. Or sometimes I've asked people to stand up and just say, we've already been into this for 40 minutes. Let's all stand up and just do a quick stretch, sit down, high five, and let's get going again, right? And you keep moving on. Or you notice, that people are not getting something. You start asking more questions. Like I often say, I see some cogwheels turning out there. Does anybody have any quick questions for me? Before we move on, I want to stop and pause and make sure that this information is being transferred effectively. So tell me what you just heard me on this last slide. Who wants to tell me what they just learned? right? Just keep it going, get it rolling. Good question. Thank you for that. What else? Anything else? I'm looking through the chat to see if there are any other questions here. Thank you guys very much. I see that in chat. I appreciate you guys in your interest in this program. Go ahead.
Clayton has a question.
Yeah. So in my experience, when I'm being introduced to a new client, one of the questions I like to ask at the end of any kind of presentation I do with them is, are there any questions, or is there any questions you wish I asked that I didn't, or that you're scared that I didn't ask? Is there anything I said that, or didn't ask about that concerns you with regarding this project? Because a lot of our work is discovering the problems that they're trying to solve and coming up with solutions for those problems. So I have found that to be a really helpful tool in getting them to open up about making sure that I'm approaching the problems in a way that is useful to them.
I think that's fantastic. You know, you're inviting more discussion, more clarity, more information from them in a safe space, and I think that's a really great way to edge out. Just, you could say something like, you know, there's a lot of information that I just delivered to you. What have we not discussed that's still on your mind? What's keeping you at night that we talk about? Those types of things. That's great. Thank you.
I think to piggyback off of that, I've noticed when I'm doing slide decks, every couple slides or maybe every section, stop and say, any questions, any comments? How do you guys feel about this? It gives you a moment to pause, and it gives them a moment to ask questions. And that way you're not droning on either.
That's right. You know, we talked about a state change. I briefly talked about, you know, what that looks like. And if you can actually insert a slide that is, think about the opposite color scheme. Like if you've got a white background, make your slide red. If your colors are white and red like mine were, make it a completely opposite and just say insight, time for reflection. You know, and because that triggers their brain also, if they can, the visual learners can see that instead of just the auditory stop, because the visual learners are like, wait, you know, they're wanting to see the next slide. So giving them that opportunity, inserting those 3 or 4 slides in an hour-long presentation is the perfect opportunity to allow that space. Good job. Thank you for that question. So comments on the program overall, just give me your feedback. Is this something that you were expecting, weren't expecting? Was it helpful at all in this environment?
I like presentations where it gives me something to think about going forward. It's not just, oh, that was nice, but this gives me actionable insights I can apply to my next speaking, which is, I do appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Brandon.
How about any advice, Suzanne, maybe you have for just like quick tips on just client presentations?
First advice, be prepared. You know, don't get there late, get there early, relax, make sure all your technology is set up. I always tell my students to, as people are walking in the room, walk up to them, announce who you are, shake their hand. Why are you here today? What are you looking for today? Because that also creates that break between, you know, I don't know this person, now I know it, I'm creating a relationship, so now I can start asking questions. I find that the 3 or 4 people that I do that to as people are walking in the room before I actually present are the first ones to raise their hand and ask questions, because we've broken that barrier of I don't know you type of thing. The other things I see is don't ever apologize. If something's not working or didn't work correctly, apology does one thing to you. It zaps your confidence. It makes you feel like you haven't been prepared. And the audience generally doesn't even know what you know and that you're apologizing for. They're not even noticing it, right? So just move on, solve the problem, get your audience to solve a problem. Hey, we got, you know, the temperature's at 80 degrees here. Could someone, you know, just run back there and flip the, okay, great, let's get going again, right? Don't apologize for it being so hot and not doing anything about it. That's just an example, but The apology thing, I see a lot of newbies get on stages and the first thing they do is apologize for a late start. And that's another thing I would say, never start late, start on time. You've got to respect the people that got there on time. And if the other people have to catch up, they have to catch up in the back of the room at the end or whatever. But always respect the people that show up and that are loyal to you with an on-time engagement.
What I like to do, since so much of our work is remote and most of my presentations, if not all, are remote, I like to get to the meeting a couple minutes early if I can. Anybody who shows up early, engage them in small talk as much as you can, because what I've found is that it establishes rapport. We have very few chances to do that remotely, but it also opens them up, so that when you are ready to actually start the meeting and try to start it, within that 1 or 2 minute time frame, of the regular start, really gets them rolling.
It works the same way as when people are walking in your room in a live presentation and you're greeting them and having that quick conversation. They are probably the first ones to be more engaging in your session, right? And the reason why I talk about being on time is because you're creating some perception, right, with everything that you're doing. And if you can set up and set the rules of the road basically prior to the event, when you send out your invitations, that you will be starting on time, and you do, when people show up 10 minutes late and they've missed the first 10 minutes, then guess who's going to be there first the next time, right? So be consistent in showing up professionally and on time. I mean, it's for me and my expertise in being all about brand, you want to create those expectations because you're going to be delivering a powerful presentation and you've got a lot of information to get going. It's much better to be on time than to go overboard, right? Overtime to make people late for stuff. That's even worse.
Well, that's the other side of it, is also I've learned to be very mindful of when the meeting's over, and a few minutes before it's over, wrap it up. Don't me be the, like, I never want to be the cause of people being late to another meeting.
Right. Absolutely. Any other questions? Happy Friday, everyone, and Happy New Year. You can still say that until tomorrow or the next day. Namaste, everybody. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a great weekend. We have 2 separate recordings, so we'll be able to watch the monthly meeting and then Suzanne's presentation separately if anybody needs to go back and watch it again. So thank you again. Y'all have a great weekend. Catch up next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.